Hey guys, Katie here, and today I want to talk about The Magician King by Lev Grossman. If you haven't read the Magician series at all, I'll give you a quick overview. The hero of the story is Quentin Coldwater, and basically it's all about how he finds out that magic exists and he has it, and he goes to a magical school, and then it turns out that Fillory, which is like his Narnia in his world, is real, and he goes there and stuff happens. You would think that it would be a lot like Harry Potter, but it's really not. Quentin is a bit older. It's more like a college for magic. It's not, you know, for young kids, and it's definitely not a book for kids. It's not at all, and there's nothing happy about it. And Quentin is the worst person in the world, pretty much. He's egotistical, self-centered, and just all around a total jerk. When I read the first book in this series, I was so horrified, and I think that I actually kept reading just because I had to know if it got worse. I just thought it was so terrible. After seeing a couple of people, in particular Sana from Inkbone's books, talk about the series in such a positive way, I thought I had to try again, and Sana insisted that the second book is so much better than the first book that you don't have to reread the first book. So I went for it. The second book is really interesting because it kind of goes more in depth into the magical world, not just from the perspective of Quentin, who went to Breakbills, the magical school, but also his friend Julia, who didn't get into Breakbills and ended up learning magic through, you know, alternative channels. If you want a more thorough description of the series, you should check out Elizabeth at Books and Pieces video about it. She does a much better job of explaining it than I did, so definitely check that out if you're interested. Overall, I liked this book a lot, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think the first thing that got me was that it felt like it had a real driving force, which is something that I thought was missing from the first book. It felt like it wandered a lot, like you didn't really get the connections. Why are we here? When we started here, it didn't make any sense. But The Magician King really follows a pretty basic storyline, which is sometimes nice when you actually follow a plot, you know, and everything comes together. In the first book, Quentin is young, a teenager, and by the time you get to the second book, he's a little bit older. He's in his 20s, you know, he's graduated from college, and he's kind of dealt with his own little like after college crisis. So he's a little bit more grown up, even though he has a long way to go, and I think that makes the book a lot easier to deal with because Quentin is better. Another thing that is really cool about this book is the tone and the style, sort of. Lev Grossman's writing is really, I think, relatable for people of my generation and younger. What I really appreciate is that it's this like fantasy world, but it's still based in our world. All of these fantasy things that we have, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, everything, it exists in that world, so it's still there, you know, and they kind of make fun of their situation based on, like, you know, these other fantasy books that exist in their world. Mostly the best thing about this book, I think, is Julia's story. Like I said, she's, you know, in the underground magical world, and things are a lot more realistic to me. It seems like maybe if magic was a thing, that this is how it would be. It wouldn't be in some fancy school. Maybe it would be, you know, kind of disjointed. It also seems like grittier. It's not always the safest place to be in these like magical safe houses that they've built up. My biggest issue with the book also has to do with Julia, but I don't want to get too in depth with it because it's really spoilery. I'm considering maybe doing a separate discussion video, which I will link if I have, and I'll put an annotation in. I think that the way that women are treated in this book in particular is kind of crappy. I guess this applies to the first one as well, because basically all the women in the books are, you know, the object of Quentin's affection. You know, he's in love with Julia since he was a little tiny teenager, and Poppy, who is a great character who comes up later in the book, he eventually becomes involved with her. I mean, no book is perfect, I guess. I just think that they're all these like incredibly intelligent, great, complex characters, but ultimately it's all about Quentin. Like, they're all about Quentin, and so they don't really have a chance to be important characters on their own. Just in general, I feel like Quentin is the worst thing about the series. I mean, he's terrible. but then again, maybe he's realistic, I don't know. It's just, it kind of gets old. It's like, Quentin, when are you gonna grow up and stop being a little jerk, you know, and treat people better? He kind of thinks he walks on water, but sorry, that's not true. And you find that out eventually, so. Yeah. Other things about the book, I really like the world building. I think it's great. Fillory feels real. And even though it has a lot of parallels to Narnia, it kind of comes into its own. I like some of the concepts going on there. The, you know, adventure that Quentin goes on is really screwed up, which is awesome. I thought the world building was good. I liked the, you know, the way the book was written. I think it's a lot better in terms of cohesiveness, and so kind of overall I enjoyed the book. I'm definitely going to be reading the next and final book in the series. I really can't wait to see what happens. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about The Magician King. If you've read this book, let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. If you haven't read it, definitely let me know if you're thinking about it. I will see you guys later. Bye.